Weird.
We can't all make declarations of hatred at the same time. Hi, everybody.
There are dozens of us. Dozens!
你好中国，比较西呢，有爱更尊重中。Shield up. There's nothing sacred.
Oh, wait a Alson, help me up onto his casket so I can dance on it.
I don't care.
But how did you ever find us?
Oh, easy. We just read the screenplay you left us.
And Hispanic people, too.
Globe gold! Globe gold! Globe gold!
You get nothing! You lose! Good day, sir!
I'll help you.
Everything is sexist, everything is racist, everything is homophobic, and you have to point it all out.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Huh? Zappuccino.
All right, it is Thursday night in Tooneytown, and that can only mean one thing, guys. It is time for my favorite night of the week. It is time for Toonie Talk TV. Folks, my name is Marvin, and I am the Movie Monster, and my name on here is my That Park Place thing. So I am just going to change that real quick because I'm Marvin the Movie Monster here. And I'm also apparently joking to death. Welcome, guys. Welcome to another exciting episode of Toonie Talk TV. It is going to be a special episode today. We're going to be talking about Superman, the movie. A number of us have seen it. So we will be discussing it without spoilers, because I know a lot of you guys still have yet to see it. Some of our panel still has yet to see it. But the big question is going to be answered. Remember, if you guys remember the screaming fight from several weeks ago between myself and Kevin, which one of us was correct? Was I right that the movie was going to be good, or was Kevin right that it was going to be an absolutely abysmal train wreck? We're going to find out. But first, guys, we have to assemble the greatest team in the history of pop culture. We have to assemble the Toonie Talk Titans.
Titans, go!
Who are you? I don't recognize you.
I don't know. I'm just a stranger from another world.
Yes.
You're an immigrant, if you will.
Those hypno glasses. They're making me see a different face. If only there was someone here to clumsily explain that to me.
Oh, Lord. Oh, gosh. The most derided thing in the entirety of his history.
Oh, well, it's we'll get to it. We'll get to it. But, we've got a lot of people we got to bring on first. Trish, I feel like we had a moment today where we bonded over the ridiculousness of a certain Billy Joel song.
I love the song, but the timeline makes no sense.
I have been saying this since I was a teenager. I'm like, this song makes zero sense.
No one talks about it.
Wait, what song?
Scenes from
an Italian restaurant. The timeline does not add up.
It doesn't. They were going to get married at the end of July in the summer of 70. They were still together the summer of 75. They're going to get married at the end of July. they had it already by the summer of 75 and were going to break
Yeah.
up. But they also bought a waterbed with money they had saved up for years.
The bread. Yeah.
When they were in high school. Like, when were they saving this money for this water? Drives me crazy. And I love that song, but every time he says it the second time, they'd had it already by the summer of 75. I'm like, really?
Yeah, no,
Really?
no, they did not. Martin Stone, my friend, hello. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Now, considering that it is scenes from an Italian restaurant and presumably the narrator is talking about the things he's hearing, maybe it's just snippets of conversation that he's relating to us. And you know how people, as they discuss these things, have different points of view.
Well, that was always my thing. I'm like, is Billy Joel just the guy who like is in the restaurant who's like telling tall tales to people just because he's excited that they're paying attention to him? Like, and he's just getting his timelines all mixed up, or is he making this stuff up?
It's clearly two friends that went to school with said Brenda and Eddie.
Right, but my take is more like Billy Joel is the guy who's sitting at a table and he's overhearing other people's conversations. And so that conversation is going on, and one person has this interpretation of Brenda and Eddie's relationship, and another person has a different interpretation.
That's not said in the lyrics, but I'm going to go with it because otherwise that drives me crazy. So it'll give me peace of mind.
Happy to help.
Nolan Thunder is. What are you doing with that cup? You bought the cup?
It tastes like disappointment.
We're not talking about the movie yet. We're not giving our thoughts and opinions yet.
I'm not talking about the movie. I'm talking about my succulent drink.
Succulent Chinese meal.
This is concession stand manifest. Oh my goodness, I can't follow that up.
Lord!
You guys have it all wrong. He's not the guy sitting at the restaurant relating the stories that he's heard. He's the guy at the bar singing songs. He's the piano man.
You know.
Wait, so you're saying Songs from an Italian Restaurant and Piano Man are in like the same universe? It's like a shared Billy Joel.
It's actually
musical
the same
universe?
night. It's the same night.
It's a long night.
Hot take.
The longest time?
I love Billy Joel. I hate Piano Man.
So does he.
I hate that song.
Have you ever heard Billy Joel talk about Piano Man? Because he hates it.
Does he? Well, I'm with him.
He's sick and tired of it. Like it's all anybody ever wants to hear from him, and he's just like, hey, I've
he has
written a lot of other
so
stuff.
many better songs than that, in my opinion.
We didn't start the fire, baby.
Brock Samsonite wins. He's the dude who's playing the dude disguised as another dude.
By the way, because we are talking about Superman tonight, we had to bring in a ringer, somebody else who has also seen the film, and somebody who we love whenever he pops up here on the show. So let's hit the music.
Please, no. Covered with scorpions. Covered with scorpions.
No. Covered with scorpions. Get them off me.
Hangry, I don't know what happened with your entrance music there, but welcome.
What does the table have to do with scorpions?
Look, that clip just pops up. It just randomly happens constantly. Yeah, no.
Please, no. Covered with scorpions. Covered with scorpions.
No. Covered with scorpions.
At the Red House, where black people and white people buy furniture.
And Hispanic people too.
I hope you're not.
That's
you want to remake that commercial with me?
I'd like to do that. I would love to do that, Kevin.
Oh. I hope you're not. I hope people are not covered with scorpions at the Red House.
There's some way to connect those. I have to figure out how.
There is. But so we're
black people and white people by scorpions.
Yes.
At the Red House, where black people and white people buy furniture.
And Hispanics too.
And Hispanic people too.
I'm picturing a remake now.
And scorpions too.
And scorpions too.
Hi, I'm Kevin, aka Big Head. I like pumping iron and pumping furniture into people's homes. Oh my goodness, I love it so much. All right, guys. So this is a show made for you and funded by you. We count on your generous super chats to keep the lights on around here. We do take breaks for all of your super chats in between all of our different news items or conversations of the day. We break for super chats of $50 or more. So if you send in a super chat of $50 or more, or 10 gifted memberships or more, we do stop and whatever we're doing and talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. And I see right away we have got to take a stop because William Thompson gifted 10 Tooneytown TV memberships. Thank you, William Thompson.
Wow.
The best hat in the business. William Thompson gifting 10 Tooneytown TV memberships. Lauren, you all right?
I've gotten that glare before from him.
Mm-hmm.
Just last week.
It's to your core.
It really does. It's the I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. Wait, no, I'm actually mad look. But William,
we'll kick in soon.
William Thompson, thank you so very much. All right. Rabid Wolverines LC Killer 17, member for 5 months, says, hello, everyone. I hope you are all doing well today. Hope you are doing well, Rabid Wolverines LC Killer 17. Haven't seen you in a while, buddy. Glad to have you back. Forever Runner 199 says, here to see what Gandalf and Swole Booker T say. Which one? Culture's not here.
He called me Hot Gandalf. It's a line from Andrew Clavin.
Oh, usually Culture is the one people call Gandalf, so that's why I was confused. But Chef Eddie also became a YouTube member. Chef Eddie, welcome to the club, my friend. We are going to start doing the members-only stream again this coming week. So now that I am all settled and have developed something of a schedule, we also did get a regular video out, which everyone got early access to this week. Trish and I have our big Ted Bundy episode planned for Crime and Punishment, so stuff is happening.
I never thought I'd hear the words Ted Bundy and fun in the same sentence.
Well, it's crime and punishment. He had fun for a while, I guess.
Oh my god!
Speaking of fun, I think we got a big super chat.
Yes, we did. Hold on. William Thompson for $50 says, it was just a matter of time, Lauren Connor, that everyone knows the truth. My hat is the best. And there we go. Lauren throwing off his hat in defeat.
That was so flashy.
It really was.
So dramatic, Lauren.
The only thing that would have made that flourish better, Lauren, is if your hat like happened to land on like a hook on the wall, like perfectly, and just kind of hung itself there.
And scorpions.
and scorpions, yes. William Thompson, you have been so generous tonight, my friend. You know what? I wonder what the scouter has. You're right, Goldberg, because it is over 9,000, folks. All right. Thank you very, very much, William Thompson. Our friend All Bee Booty Bees and Bacon with Big B's for $2 checking in saying, I'm running on 7 cups of coffee tonight. I remember what that's like, brother. That's called being a writer at deadline. But yeah, good to see you. Good to see you, buddy. Dead X-Man 616 member for 4 months says, who let Booker T steal the spotlight from Super me? Forever Runner for $1.99 says, it's Hat Gandalf. Hi, Lauren. Oh, Hat Gandalf. I get it. That makes sense because of your hat. And oh my god, not anymore. No, because you've gotten rid of the hat. Oh, all right. Well, we Oh my goodness. Ryan Damon for $50 says, who stopped my dominance of awful Jeopardy on Sunday? I watched Superman and it wasn't that bad. I don't care. Well, you know, we'll talk about it in a second, Ryan Damon, but thank you very, very much, my friend, for the $50 super chat. We very, very much appreciate it. And you know what? Let's see. What is a good clip? You know what? My favorite clip.
This world will beat you down. Beat you with a stick.
Oh, and you know what? You also get John Cena's apology.
你好，中国，这是叫西娜。我爱更尊重中国，更中国人。我很抱歉对我的错误，对不起，我很抱歉。你必须了解，我很爱、很尊重中国跟中国人。不好意思，再见。
Zaijen, indeed, John Cena. But Ryan Damon, thank you very much, my friend. We appreciate it. And oh my goodness, William Thompson with another 50 says, please, God, put your hat back on, Lorne. Lorne, he paid $50 for you to put the hat on. You got to put the hat on.
You got to do it, man.
I don't know. I'm feeling a little peevish.
You want mine?
Oh, peevish.
Yeah, a little, just a little.
Is this like when Hamilton wouldn't wear the hat in Fast Times?
Lauren, there is a demand for the hat. The people want the hat, Lauren. Are we really gonna
come on? Lauren plays
deny
hard
the
to
people
get.
what they want?
You know,
I'll think about it.
Okay, well, you think about it, my friend. And look, is that the Culture Casino hat? It's a new hat. Is that the Culture Casino hat? Very, very nice.
So I got the actual hot Gandalf hat for this one.
Ah, very good. That is the hot Gandalf hat. Thank you, William Thompson. My goodness, guys. You know what? You guys, for all of the generosity, you get to hear what Steven Spielberg really thinks about Kathleen Kennedy.
Remember, Kathy came into the room with her steno pad and her pencil, and she was horrible at taking notes, and she was terrible, and she didn't really know how to do it very well. But what she did know how to do was interrupt somebody in mid-sentence. We'd be pitching ideas back and forth, and Kathy, who's supposed to be writing these ideas down, suddenly put her pencil down and would say something like, and what if he didn't get the girl, but instead he got the dog?
Just fantastic. That's Nolan running Lucasfilm now. All right. So let's see. LK checking in for $2 says, Superman, it's maddening. It could have been good. We will talk about it in a moment. That'll be our first topic of today, since we have Hangry here with us for it. Dead X-Man 616 for $5 is at the Red House, where monkeys and Kryptonians buy furniture and bat people too. Yeah, we'll talk. Yeah. Andre Adams for $9.99. In my imagination, Sam Jackson is cussing out James Gunn. Does Superman look like a bee? Then why are you treating him like one? Well, I mean, he does get.
That's your Sam Jackson.
I'm trying. I would be trying to actually do it. I might be offensive.
I was just sitting here going, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to let it roll.
What do you mean it might be offensive? That was offensive. That's your Sam Jackson?
I don't have a Sam Jackson.
At least do the Chappelle Show one.
I was literally about to say the Sam Jackson Chappelle is just Dave Chappelle screaming as Dave Chappelle, going, Sam Jackson beer, it'll get you drunk. It's like you're just being Dave Chappelle right now. I also can't curse, so it's hard to do Samuel L. Jackson when you can't curse.
You can curse.
I cannot curse. This is a PG channel.
I give you permission.
You get. All right. Well, I'm glad I have your permission, but.
In this episode, Lauren is the devil on your shoulder.
I'm feeling chaotic tonight. You know what? I'm going to get into it. I'm just going to make things difficult.
Yes.
Lauren Fisto making rules, making deals with everybody. If this were Ironheart, it would easily sign my soul over. All right, guys, let's get into it. Normally, this is where we take. You know what? Let's do our the way we start off every week. We talk about what we are watching before we get to Superman. So, Kevin Apollo, what are you watching this week or playing if you're playing a game?
I don't really remember. I think I watched a couple episodes of. Nope, I watched absolutely nothing this week.
Oh, okay. Fantastic. All right, Trish, what are you watching this week?
The greatest thing that I've watched this week, Kevin knows, are clips from Beverly Hills 90210. Specifically, the Scott Scanlon Memorial Time Capsule burial scene, where everything they bury has nothing to do with Scott Scanlon. And I was just howling laughing. Luke Perry tosses a tin of surfboard wax in, like, it's just, I forgot how funny it was. Anyone who watched 90210 knows what I'm talking about, because Scott Scanlon's kind of infamous, but yeah, 90210. It's making me want to watch the show proper.
Why don't you just watch the show then?
I mean, I can, but this is like a new development that I was watching these clips, and now I kind of got like the itch.
Do you have the box sets for it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's easy for
Physical
me to
media
watch
for
it.
the win.
My sisters watched that show, and I think I remember that episode. And it was like all these rich kids throwing in like convenience store crap.
It was like, well, like they do an issue of The Blaze, the school newspaper, about him, and Andrea goes, "I'm gonna put in our issue about like recycled something or other." I'm like, put in the issue about him. Like, what are you doing? It was deranged. I was like, who wrote this and what were they thinking for this? It was nuts.
I don't know. I think it's kind of spot on for a bunch of Hollywood rich kids.
Isn't one of them like noticeably older than all the other ones?
All of them. They're all entirely.
Well, yeah,
too
but
old.
one of them was nearly 40 years old when she was on the show.
Andrea.
Yeah.
Not Andrea. Andrea.
Family Guy did the joke where like the one was just like an old lady sitting at the thing with them.
Well, I think she was like 30 in season 1. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. I think she was something like 29 or 30 playing like a 15-year-old. So.
Lauren Connor, what are you watching this week?
Hours and hours of training videos.
Still,
man. Oh my goodness.
It's 40 hours worth of material. Yeah.
Have you watched anything to unplug or to like just relax and or just YouTube stuff or?
Not really. This really squishes your brain, and at the end of the day, you're just kind of you're numb. So unfortunately, nothing fun.
Nolan Thunder, what are you watching or playing?
I've actually been doing a lot more listening, actually, when I've been working on projects or at work. I've actually been listening to a YouTube channel called The Y-Files, if anyone's familiar with that. It's cool. It's basically a skeptic and his goldfish, and the goldfish is a conspiracy nut, and they talk about conspiracies and government cover-ups and all that stuff. It's a lot of fun.
The goldfish does?
Yes, the goldfish talks, my friend. The goldfish talks. And he's got like a tinfoil hat on top of him. And they're a huge success. They got like 12 million subs, and they give deep dives into a lot of research into strange events that have happened over the years that may not have been told the truth on. So I highly recommend it if anyone's unfamiliar with them.
They have that many subs, and I've never heard of it. Like,
they're good, man.
Wow.
Girl, they're on Roku TV too. They're huge.
Wow.
I'm gonna check them out. Martin Stone, what are you watching this week?
Mostly I'm watching stuff with my kids. So a bunch of Octonauts. That's been a blast. One Punch Man, My Hero Academia.
Oh, you are watching My Hero. How far are you?
Into the second season now.
Oh, great.
Nice.
So that the moment where he uses One for All for the first time when he punches out that robot in the entrance exam, is that not like the biggest like heart pumping moment, like to just get you into the show? Your kids like it, I assume.
Yeah, that's the moment that really sold it for my younger son.
It's an unbelievable moment, and All Might has fought Nomu at this point, then, right?
Yeah, yes, he has.
The brain guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's another amazing moment when he punches him through the ceiling.
Right, and he does so knowing that it's a big sacrifice for himself.
Yeah, because he's firing off at over 100% of his power. It's just All Might is. I keep telling Kevin that he has got to watch this show because All Might will be his new obsession. Just a big American style comic book hero in a Japanese anime whose attacks involve screaming out the names of American cities.
Also, he seems to unabashedly love America.
He does. Well, that All Might's backstory, after he gets one for all and goes to school and all that stuff, he does go to America, where he worked as a hero for a while. So that's where he gets his love of America for. But All Might is the manga writer is just a massive American comic book fan, and he wanted to create the ultimate American style comic book character, and that was All Might. I mean, yeah, he's incredible. Hangry, what are you watching, my friend?
Well, I gotta say, I'm really glad to hear that Martin liked One Punch Man, or at least watched it. That's one of my all-time favorites.
I'm enjoying it.
But in terms of what I've been watching, a super film about a man who's possibly super is something that I've watched.
There's something a couple of us have watched. So I'll tell you what go ahead.
I haven't had a chance to watch a lot of stuff lately, so going to the movies was a bit of a treat today.
Right. So I have been watching. So the wife and I have been watching The Gilded Age still, but we are on the last episode until we're caught up. So we just got really, really into it. Honestly, like you said, I don't like those kinds of shows typically. I didn't like Downton Abbey. I know, Trish, I know. But this it's really good. It's on HBO Max. It's on the third season right now. The third season is currently going on, so a new episode drops every week. It's fantastic. One of the main characters is the woman who played Leonard's mom on Big Bang Theory, and she's amazing in it. But we've also been watching. We restarted Superman and Lois because my wife has never seen it, and I needed some support from Superman. So we started watching Superman and Lois because I maintain it is the best Superman we have gotten since Lois and Clark. It is very, very good. It is an incredible Superman. It's an incredible Lois. I like his kids never get annoying. It's just a fantastic show. And when you finally get to the point where Lex Luthor shows up, it is such a different Lex Luthor because it's like bruiser Lex Luthor. It's he's big, he's jacked. And it's like the Clancy Brown version almost, just a little less refined.
It's like that meme of Ned Flanders after he's gone to prison and he's this huge giant jacked dude with all these tattoos on him.
Well, my favorite is he gets released from prison in one of the later seasons and then just immediately starts walking from the prison. He walks to Smallville just to tell Lois Lane to go to hell. He's just that level of just obsessed here. But that's good. And no, it is not John Cryer because Superman and Lois started out as part of the Arrowverse, and then I think a couple episodes in they decided they didn't actually want to be in the Arrowverse anymore, so they are now their own offshoot universe. So they don't follow the Arrowverse continuity because people were like, why isn't Kara at Martha Kent's funeral in the first episode? Where is your cousin? Why aren't you interacting with the Flash? It was a whole bunch of stuff. So it just kind of exists, and it's shot differently. It does not look like the Flash. It doesn't look like Supergirl. And I mean, I was sad that John Cryer wasn't going to be Lex in it because John Cryer might be my favorite Lex Luthor. I thought he nailed the character. He nailed the character of the guy who will cure cancer in an afternoon because he can, but then not give it to anyone. I thought that was an incredible Lex. I'm also playing right now on PS5 Lunar 2 Eternal Blue because I never actually had played the sequel to Lunar Silver Star Story, which is one of my favorite games of all time, and I'm very much enjoying it. So all right, so guys, are we ready to talk about Superman?
Yeah, I
guess. So we have to answer a big question right off the bat. Is Superman good?
It's not just a no, it's a oh, hell no!
Oh boy.
It stinks.
It does indeed stink.
Oh boy.
Kevin, I owe you an apology.
It's
You
okay,
were
my
right.
brother. It's
You
okay.
called it. I wanted to hope. I wanted to have hope in my heart that this could be good, that we could get a good Superman. And when you called it Soy Per Man, you were very, very right. And that is not a knock on Corenswet, because as I will say multiple times during this discussion, he is an excellent Superman. He like Henry Cavill and Brandon Routh before him. He is a great Superman who is trapped in a script that is just not up to his level. So, but and of that, Brandon Routh eventually got that when he got to play Superman again in Crisis on the CW. He finally got to give us the Superman we could have gotten, and it was incredible. But Nolan, you saw this movie. What are your just surface level thoughts, and then we'll dive deeper in a little bit. I just want to get everyone who saw it to.
Yeah, for just surface level, it is a very mixed bag of a movie. I can see a lot of people liking it, especially, I think a lot of kids might be able to get into it with like how bright and colorful it can be. But there's a lot of things that detract from it, and it's honestly kind of violent in some very bizarre ways that make you feel uncomfortable. I left this film feeling disappointed.
Martin Stone, now I know you, I'm assuming you went with your kids, right?
I took my boys who are 10 and 14. Well,
Okay.
11, 14 now. But 14-year-old didn't like it, but he's pretty influenced by online culture, even though I try to keep him away from it. My 11-year-old said he did like it, but he also didn't want to talk about the movie afterwards. And wasn't like humming the Superman theme and wasn't jumping around.
Yeah.
He just said he liked it, and that was as far as he wanted to go with it.
Okay. Hangry. What were your thoughts?
So, I feel like I'm a bit of the odd man out here, or the odd table out, because I left theater relatively not pleased, but I was okay with it. And
I think the internet is conspiring against Hangry right now, that he's trying to say nice things about this movie and it like shut him down. Hangry, are you there?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, you were roboting a little bit, but now we can hear
sorry
you.
about that.
So you said you left the theater not hating it.
I left the theater not hating it, and I'll explain a little bit more about why. But the other thing that I want to point out is that I had an opportunity to go with essentially a gaggle of kids who ranged between 6 years old up to 13, and the comments that I received from them afterwards, I was very curious, so I actually asked them all. The 6-year-old loved it. They were, and she liked the stuff in the Pocket universe, so with like the Minecrafty stuff.
Yeah.
The kids who were ranging between 7 to 9 absolutely loved it. They want to go and see the movie again. They said this is the first time they've liked Superman. The 10-year-old said that she also liked it. She thought it was pretty fun. However, the oldest kid said that he felt it was too political and too reminiscent of two other countries that are currently at odds with each other in the world, and I will not name names.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people say that, and I'm like, it's not that. I got Ruskies and Ukraine from it. I didn't get the Middle Eastern crisis.
Well, this other guy, he's also influenced by his father, who's a big political buff, and so I think they were having conversations about it. But I'll just say this flat out: Corenswet sold me on this. I was going into this since Corenswet had been announced as Superman. I was kind of, I'm a kind of like Cavill ride or die kind of guy, but I was pretty opposed to him going all the way up. I just never got the feeling that he was Superman right up until this movie. And there were scenes in this movie where I was kind of like, oh, okay, all right, he's Superman. Like that's kind of what I was waiting for. The movie itself, it felt to me kind of like how I came out of The Force Awakens back in 2014, in the sense that this feels like a Superman for another generation than mine, and that's okay. But it did feel like something we've never seen before with Superman, and something that is geared towards a new audience, as much as I hate to say it. And then lastly, like, DC wanted a James Gunn movie. Like, I don't see how this movie was different than Guardians, quite frankly.
Well, so Hangry, were you just like, I really want to see a movie where Superman just gets his butt kicked for 90 minutes?
No, I mean, yeah, okay, so he does get dog walked a bit, but he does also have his moments where, you know,
he gets fed his own butt for 90 minutes in this film.
Yeah,
I mean, the Officer Murphy had a better time of it in the first 20 minutes of RoboCop than this man had throughout the course of this movie, with how everyone beat him up. Lex's putty patrollers beat him up.
Yes.
I actually
So you're saying
mind...
he's like in...
Sorry, Nolan, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, is it as morbid and awful as in the Short Circuit movie when everyone's beating the crap out of him in that one scene?
Nothing is more heartbreaking than the disassemble Johnny Five.
Yeah.
Johnny Five was alive.
I'm alive.
Well,
go ahead.
Okay, so I know he gets beaten down a lot, but like, again, I think a lot of this has to do with my own expectations being set, because like those spoilers which came out earlier on the web about 2 months ago were just dead on. So when I read those, I kind of thought, okay, this is what it's going to be like.
Mm-hmm.
And you see comments by James Gunn as well, where he says, you know, at the beginning of the film, he just gets his butt whooped. He's basically just torn down completely. And he does a good job of doing that. Like, I thought that this Lex was probably one of the most effective Lexes that I've seen in in all of the Superman media we've seen. Like, the way he systematically tore him down was brilliant, and it really highlighted the. Okay, sorry, go on.
I agree with you on that. And the one thing I will say, I really liked and I feel this is not a spoiler because they have released this clip publicly. When he's fighting the Hammer of Bravia and Lex is calling out the codes for the attacks.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really cool thing, and it was very Lex Luthor, but angry. And Nolan Martin, wouldn't that have been way cooler with Metallo?
Yeah.
And made more sense.
Yeah, but also in the end, I remember thinking at first, okay, that's interesting. But then as I thought about it again, and this maybe is not a problem because comic book nerds, we do this. Why wouldn't Superman just up the pace of the fight so that Lex Luthor couldn't call the shots anymore?
Well, yeah, that never happens. We can't really get into it like that. But hold on, guys, because I have to take a quick break because Mike Glass just gifted 10 Tooneytown TV memberships and followed it off with another 5 Tooneytown TV memberships. Mike Glass, thank you very, very much, sir. That is super, super appreciated. And my goodness, we are going to have to play. It's
not about money. It's about sending a message.
Hey, it's a Trish's clip. Thank you so much, Mike Glass. But Lex, here's the problem with Lex, and this is the problem with the movie. Now, I said when I was in my review and when I was talking to Pro about it, I had said that I thought skipping the origin was a mistake. And what I meant by that was not Krypton blowing up. What I meant by the origin was him meeting everyone for the first time. We don't get to see him and Lois fall in love. They're already in love because the movie tells us that they're in love, and they try to give us some relationship drama that doesn't land. But the thing that I needed to see more than anything was who Lex Luthor was before Superman showed up. I needed to see Metropolis's favorite son, who sees this alien show up and loses his mind. We see Lex Luthor like his mind is already lost to his obsessive hatred with Superman, and so we have no actual connection to it. And then, and again, I'm not trying to give spoilers or anything. They give him just a hacky, super long supervillain monologue in the third act where he explains why he hates Superman. A lot of this movie to me was, we're going to explain to you things. Like, it's the way I said it on Pros was like, I said, imagine if in A New Hope, the doors to the Tantive 4 opened up and Darth Vader walked in, and one of the rebels said, "That's Darth Vader. He's the Dark Lord of the Sith, and he's the right hand of the Emperor. The Empire controls the galaxy." Like, that's the kind of explanations that we were given throughout this film. Lauren, what were you going to say?
I have to correct you. What did you call the name of the consular ship?
Oh,
it's
no.
It's not the Tantive 4?
Tantive.
I have never heard anyone pronounce it like that before.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
Everybody mispronounces it, but the origin of the name is from the radio drama. If you listen to the radio drama, you'll get the correct pronunciation. Don't let anybody pronounce it that way.
All right. I will never again pronounce it that way or let anyone pronounce it that way again. Thank you, Lauren. Will you now accept that sherbet doesn't have an R in the end? All right.
What?
No, so Lauren mentioned, and I realized this wasn't on the air. He mentioned sherbet, and I was like, because sherbet is a word that we've all said when we had sherbet as a kid, but there is no such thing as sherbet. It's sherbet, and it's a Berenstain Bears. It's a Berenstain Bears situation because we all thought it was the Baron. We all thought it was the Berenstein Bears.
No, first of all, no, we all didn't. No, we all didn't.
Yes,
I knew it was Baron. No, I knew.
Trish, you're in the wrong timeline.
Hey.
Are we talking about sorbet?
No,
we're talking about sherbet.
No, I know, I'm teasing.
Oh.
Thank you.
The thing is, like, sherbet. Sherbet.
It's easier to say sherbet.
It's not a Mandela effect thing. I think it's just what feels natural to people to say. And then
It depends if you're on the
spelling
East Coast or West Coast.
And in this house, we say it with an extraneous R.
If they call sherbet a Coke, I'm leaving.
Maybe in some houses we call it the Tantive 4.
And those
It's
houses
a
would be wrong.
Tantive 4. It's a Tantive 4. I'm telling you.
My mother is the only person I've ever seen who writes the word catsup instead of ketchup.
If you're not going to take Princess Leia's word for it, I can't help you.
All right. So anyway, Martin, did you notice what I noticed about just the dialogue, like where they just had to explain things over and over and over again?
I didn't notice that, but I noticed Regina Sharp's $50 super chat.
Regina Sharp, thank you for $50. Sorry I'm late. Have I missed the deeply moving and detailed discussion of the most important facet of the Superman movie? You know, them giving Nathan Fillion a bowl cut. Yes, Lloyd
I love
Christmas.
how hung up Regina is on this.
It is. Look, Guy Gardner was not a bad part of this movie. He was one of the better parts of it for me. I thought they nailed his personality. I mean, there's not much there beyond he's kind of a jerk.
But I was surprised at how well Nathan Fillion was able to play him. I thought he was miscast at first, but yeah, no, it's he got it. And same with Mr. Terrific. The one that everyone didn't like was Hawk Girl, though.
Well, because
Hey now.
Why? Because she's a big booty Latina.
Yes, dang right. Sassy
Right.
too. Around.
No, Justice Gang. Go ahead, Martin.
When I was taking my sons, we were on the way, and my older one was going through. So the Justice Gang, that's Green Lantern and Hot Girl and Mr. Terrific. And my younger son goes, "I'm sorry, wait a second. Did you say Hot Girl?"
That's basically what she was for this movie. Like she was as deep as a Dixie cup in this whole thing. But Regina Sharp, thank you very, very much for that $50 super.
All I do is win, no matter what. Got money on my mind, everybody hands go up. Glove gold, glove gold, glove gold, glove gold.
Oh my goodness, thank you so very much. All right, so Martin, did you notice what I noticed about like the exposition dialogue, how heavy-handed it is?
Yeah, but I've always kind of thought James Gunn's not the best writer for including history in his. It's always exposition heavy.
I was going to say James Gunn is more of a speechwriter as opposed to a monologuer.
You know, Nerdrotic talked about the way the plot is structured, and he referenced something that, like, he referenced this video from Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the guys who made South Park, where they talk about storytelling. And I love this video because it's very true. They were like, when you set out your story beats, if you can say and then in between any of them, you've done something wrong. In between each story beat, you should be able to say therefore or but. This happens, therefore this happens. But this happens, so therefore this happens. Instead of this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then a kaiju shows up, and then we're in a pocket dimension, and then Jimmy Olsen is having women throwing themselves at him for some reason, and then.
Spoilers.
Yeah, it was in
What's happening right now. Spoilers.
We know what is a kaiju.
Yes, but you're saying other things that weren't necessarily in the trailers.
Oh yeah.
Pose yourself.
And the Jimmy Olsen thing was in the trailers. Or is it was in one of the? Go ahead, Hangry.
I'm just gonna ask, like, okay, again, playing devil's advocate here. This was James Gunn Superman by James Gunn, written directed by James Gunn, with James Gunn doing his feature of James Gunn Superman. So maybe your expectations were too high. I don't know. What do you guys think?
My expectation was that they were going to tell a coherent story where Superman got to be a hero and maybe win a fight.
He saved the squirrel. He saved the squirrel. Come on.
And I loved that. Spoilers, but yes, he does save a squirrel at one point. And I was like, you know what? That's the most Superman thing they've done this whole movie, is that he took time out of a fight to save a squirrel.
Eat your heart out, New York.
Corenswet, I feel, really sold the whole like
wholesome,
the wholesome nerdy aspect. I didn't like the Kents. I didn't like the parents.
How do you know whether you liked the Kents or not? They're barely in it.
Well, I could barely understand their accents. Number one, I was like, I think I needed subtitles to hear that.
Yeah, because he made them straight up hillbillies.
Yeah,
who get the only time that Jonathan Kent says more than one sentence is that scene on the porch. Yeah, and it's the only scene where he interacts with Clark.
I was expecting him to call like Martha Mima or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Martin, you were trying to say something. People kept talking over you. So what were you trying to say?
Oh, it's okay. Everybody had good points. I was just going to say that I'm always rooting for directors to rise above themselves and show another level to their talent and craft. I am often disappointed. And this is one of those situations.
I think some directors believe they're already perfect, and I would assume James Gunn is one of those.
Like for instance, back in the 90s, I was really hoping that M. Night Shyamalan could make a movie that didn't have a twist, so that when the next twist came, it was actually surprising.
Yeah.
But then again, he also never learned to write dialogue for human beings.
Mm-hmm. Look, LK here says, this is how someone who grew up in Missouri thinks of people from Kansas. and Maddie says, why were Clark's parents inbred? Like, they were, like, you don't get the sense about the Kents that, like, they're the people that instilled his value system in him. His value system is, for some reason, all wrapped up in his Kryptonian heritage throughout this movie for no reason. And I won't go into it because it's spoiler territory, but, like, it's not like Superman the movie where he has, like, an AI Jor-El who has, like, interacted with him and, like, talked to him and guided him and trained him. This is he has a voicemail from them, a half of a voicemail, and that's it. And that becomes a big plot point later on in a moment that I thought was maybe one of the worst things in the entire film. It was a thing that I was, like, super angry about. And, you know,
his advanced Kryptonian technology couldn't recover a file, but Lex
could. But Spinny Blade Girl, the engineer, can recover it easily within 5 minutes.
There's nothing wrong with harems. Come on.
The Superman rope, the Kryptonian tech in the fortress has been trying for like a decade to unravel this thing, and the engineer unravels it in 5 minutes. And you know what? Having them speak only Kryptonian was such a weird choice. But then, like, having Lex be able to translate the Kryptonian, I'm like, that's dumb.
Yeah, that was really strange to me because let's assume for a second that's the only spoken Kryptonian that sample they have. It took centuries to understand hieroglyphics, and that was a human language. Why do we think a philologist could unravel an entire foreign alien tongue in an afternoon? But that's just the linguist side of me. That's
yeah, it's because
but it's a comic book movie. Okay,
you know,
it's a guy who
but
can fly.
Here's the thing. Like, they take one of the stupidest things from Superman Returns and one of the stupidest things from the Snyderverse, and they do them both in this movie. Like they do like the Zack Snyder thing where it's like, we have to evacuate the city, and then 5 minutes later they're like, the city's empty, and then all for the sake of there being a big CGI fight in the city where there'll be no casualties. And they do the super creep from Superman Returns, where like him and Lois, and this is not a huge spoiler, guys. Him and Lois have been dating for 3 months, and she comes home and opens the door to her apartment, and he's in there making dinner, and she doesn't know he's in there, so she like grabs a baseball bat. And I'm like, I could not imagine like 3 months into dating someone and you break into their house. Did anyone else catch that?
Yeah.
Oh, I just thought it was really creepy.
Sorry, Marvin, I've got to get running. It's bedtime for my kiddos, and they're kind of
no problem.
down. But thank you for having me on. I will try to be on more. I promise once my schedule clears up a bit more.
I appreciate you stopping by and sharing your opinion. I like that you had a different opinion than the rest of us. So,
oh, thank you. Don't cancel me.
I promise I won't.
Have a great night, guys.
All right, see you.
Good night, Henry.
Okay, so let's see. We've done. Oh, you know what? Crypto. This is the first movie that I've ever hated a dog. Maybe because it was a soulless, terrible CGI dog, where like they don't even pet him because you can't, because like the CGI in this movie I thought was awful. Go ahead, Martin.
I think I was in the minority from the very jump with the with Crypto's introduction in the trailers, because when he's jumping around on Superman who's injured, I just thought that's the entirely wrong tone. That's just a stupid James Gunn gag.
Yep.
That just told me that the tone of this Superman movie would be off. And like I said, I think I was in the minority on that because everybody loves a good, cute dog. But I'm hoping that more people will come around.
Here's the thing, Martin. I think that more people have come around to that because one of the common things I've seen has been every time Crypto shows up, they do that same exact joke.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, he's an uncontrollable dog. Like, that's it. Like every time to me, by the end of the movie, I was like, Crypto is the screaming goats from Thor: Love and Thunder.
And I know this is probably just me being a fuddy-duddy, but the casual use of profanity throughout this movie in a Superman movie,
I know
it really bugged me.
Go ahead, Nolan.
That's kind of my overall problem with this film. You know, it's trying to go for a tone that's more like a lighthearted kids movie. You know, everything's bright and colorful. You have this slapstick dog humor. I literally went to the store the other day and I saw dog treats with Crypto the Super Dog on it. And yet, in the next scene, you're going to get Superman getting brutally beat up in almost kind of a morbid sense. And you guys know me, I'm all for, crazy violence, blue type content, but the tone is so jank to where it's like, you kind of want to take your kids to it, but at the same time, there's times where it's like Martin was saying with the language, where it feels like it lacks an identity in a lot of ways, except being James Gunn.
Well, that's the thing. James Gunn was in every frame of this movie from beginning to end. It is a James Gunn production from the very, very start. I liked the idea that the movie tried to float, where it was like, this is a Superman who cares about doing good, and that's all he cares about. And he's the guy with the biggest heart in the world. I liked that. It just never shone through. And the people were basically PS2 NPCs in the fact that they were like, they love Superman, now they hate Superman, now they love him again, even though the reason why they hated him is no longer is still a factor. Like, it was just so like weird to me. They kept telling us Superman is a symbol of hope. Superman is beloved by the people. They don't show us this though. And again, that comes from seeing his debut as Superman. Jeff Johns wrote a beautiful comic book called Superman's Secret Origin. That's the easiest way to tell a Superman story in a movie. Kevin, I've been saying that since it came out. Remember when that comic book came out and I was like, this is a Superman movie.
Mm-hmm. If I could interject something.
Go ahead, Martin.
Because it's sort of a question, because I was never the biggest Superman reader. I picked him up whenever I could, but I was more into Batman and Punisher. But I feel like there was a reaction in comics in the late 90s and then again in the early 2000s where the writers wanted to make it clear that Superman is not an American. And so they started having these sort of moral quandaries where Superman doesn't want to be seen as a tool of the American state and doesn't want to be an extension of American foreign policy.
Mm-hmm.
But in this movie, they keep challenging him on that. Like, did you ask the president? Did you ask the Joint Chiefs of Staff? And the simple answer for him would just to say, I don't have to.
Right.
An American doesn't have to ask permission to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't even have to get mad about it. He just has to say that flippantly, easily. And that could have been the most American thing he did. On the other hand, I also believe the most American thing a Superman has ever done on film was throw that drone that was following him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I did like that. Where at the end of Man of Steel. I got to tell you, hold on a second. Regina Sharp for $50 is honestly, I feel like James Gunn just really, really liked the Justice League International Europe years of the league.
Yes.
Kinda. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin?
I think he said that was his era. If I recall the timeline right. That was his era, yeah. That post-crisis, post-Legends, but pre 0 Hour era where things were just kind of a little hokey and wonky and you know.
Absolutely. I like this what Rapid Wolverines LC Killer 17 says. So the CGI baby from Squid Games has more personality than the CGI dog for this movie. The CGI baby in Squid Games is horrifying. Like worse than the doll baby in Twilight that Trish loves so much.
That can't be.
No, it's worse. It's this CGI baby is hauntingly terrible. So the guys, anything else we can say spoiler free about this film? I mean, I don't think it sets up the DC universe very well. I will tell anyone that's going to see it, keep your expectations low for the post-credit scenes. There are 2 of them, and neither of them are anything. They don't lead to anything. Like, you're not going to see like Brainiac show up or something like that.
Boda Mayo had a comment that I agree with wholeheartedly.
Oh God, he was liking this movie, wasn't he?
Yes, but he also, he also did acknowledge that people, some people weren't going to like it. No, we can't really talk about it without it being a spoiler, but we can probably I'll remember the comment next week.
Okay.
Because when he said it, I was like, oh yeah, I can see why that would have been done that way.
I think you just wanted me to play the. So I see the game that you're playing, Kevin and Paula.
I do want to say that I wanted to like this movie because I want Superman to have a hit on film.
Yeah.
And I also really enjoy Silver Age nonsense. And this movie sort of promised that. It just didn't really deliver on a Silver Age tone.
The
to go
problem
with
was
Silver Age nonsense.
the problem was the movie had ADHD. It moved from thought to thought to thought to thought to thought to different things, to the point where, like, you know, they're fighting in like a Minecraft pocket dimension, and I'm like, what are we doing? Like, it moves it plays like an episode of Superman the Animated Series, but it moves at the pace of Superman the Animated Series, like that it's trying to get a full story out in less than 20 minutes. But like it moves at that pace for 2 hours and never seems to really find what it wants to say.
6 months, we find out that the movie was super edited.
I mean, it looks like it might have been. I mean, they're like things like the kaiju. We don't know where it came from. They don't.
It looks like it came out of the Powerpuff Girls. It was awful.
Yeah. They don't explain it at all. It's just kind of like Lex has these things because he has these things. And look, if you want to sell me on that's what this world is, then Metropolis should have looked a lot different. If you want to sell me on like they've got this super futuristic technology, there's been metahumans for 300 years, there's pocket dimensions and kaijus and aliens all over the place, then Metropolis should have looked like the city of tomorrow. It should have looked like the way it looks in like Superman the Animated Series or in some of the comics where Metropolis is just a super futurized city, and it's not. It just looked like New York.
There's three parts to Metropolis. There's the science section because since Superman showed up, there's always aliens or monsters roaming around, and it's super duper advanced. Then there's it's not quite New York, it's not quite Chicago area, and then there's the self-deletion slums where it's where it's a little touch of Gotham, but still way nicer.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and the science side of it exists because of Superman. So, that's something that should have been put in there, especially if he's been around for a few years. So metahumans have been around for 300 years. Do they give any acknowledgement to Jay Garrick and other?
Nope. No, nothing that deep. Martin, did you see anything like that? Because I didn't.
Yeah, I was looking for it because, man, I have always wanted a Jay Garrick or a original Green Lantern, Alan
Scott.
I've always wanted like a period piece with them, but nope. I will say that if you're a fan of city destruction, this was more destructive than Man of Steel.
Yes. Yeah, because it actually was, but it's okay because they evacuated the section of the city in 5 minutes. But then, when they needed stakes to happen, they were like, "Oh no, it's headed for the other section of the city that wasn't evacuated." And I was like, "Why? Why wasn't it evacuated? You evacuated the rest of the city except for this one part where people are up on a rooftop garden."
So it's basically like there's a problem in Manhattan on like a celestial level, and Lois Lane isn't concerned until her home borough of Brooklyn is in danger, and that one didn't get evacuated.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it was like in the kaiju scene, Lois is just like sitting at her desk with her legs crossed, like looking at other things and looks bored. I'm like, there's a giant monster rampaging in the city and no one is alarmed by it. Like, if you want to tell me like this is the kind of stuff that happens in the city every week, I can follow you on that in something like the MCU that's been around for 20 years. But and this is just more of James Gunn is dropping us into the second act of a story. And like literally, when this movie starts, you are in the second act of a story already in progress. It is, I'm not going to tell you how it starts, but basically it starts and they're like, "Hey, by the way, a bunch of things just happened before the movie started. Here's everything you have to know. Okay, let's pick it up already in progress. Currently in the ring." That's what I didn't like.
It is shocking how much of this movie could very easily be a sitcom if it was reworked in a way because of how the logic is portrayed in this movie. The way the characters flip on a dime, the cartoon logic throughout the whole presence of everything. And I can only go much further by going to spoilers, so I'll just leave it at that. But this could easily have been like a cartoon, and yet the cartoons were far, far more intelligent than anything we saw on screen today.
Yeah, and like I said, guys, when I say the origin story, I don't mean Krypton blowing up. I don't mean crashing in the cornfield. I mean Superman showing up in Metropolis for the first time. That's, establishing himself as a hero, establishing this universe in the right way. because here's the thing, like it's one thing to start like, you know, like a Batman movie with Batman already in progress, but for this movie to be the foundation of this new universe, and we're just kicking it off in the middle of everything, it made it so that nothing felt earned.
Can I say something?
How scared do you think David Zaslav is right now, Marvin?
Martin, go ahead.
Ed, I'm going to say something. You guys may disagree with this, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. I don't mind authoritarian Jor-El because it makes down-home American Pa Kent look better.
Yeah, but we didn't get to know down-home American Jonathan Kent that much.
No,
other
yeah,
than that
we
one
didn't.
conversation.
Yeah.
I felt more connected to Kevin Costner before he died in the tornado,
right?
Than
I
felt
agree.
to this Jonathan Kent.
I'm not particularly talking about this movie. I'm talking about just generally when Jor-El is portrayed as having a totally alien philosophy.
Right. We're flirting with spoilers here. So,
I was talking about like in the comic books.
Oh, okay, yeah,
because sometimes in the comic books, that's how Jor-El is portrayed. He
in
expects
Smallville, in Smallville, it was portrayed like that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, like with the Terrence Stamp, Jor-El was kind of a jerk. I don't know.
Which actually, in a way, is sort of a betrayal of Siegel and Schuster, who wrote Superman as sort of a Moses allegory.
It's 100% a Moses allegory. Yeah. It's not even sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, he's put in the basket and sent down the river to avoid death. Like it's straight up. That's why I get so mad when people try to make the Christ allegories with Jesus. I'm like, no. Like he's 100% Moses. Like,
right.
It's yeah. You know what? The one thing I can say about this movie that I really enjoyed, besides the performances, despite the fact that he gets his rear end fed to him for the entire movie, he never stops. He never gives up. He is constantly he's constantly getting back up and jumping back into the fray. I like that. I like that, except for that one scene where from the original. Remember the scene where we were like, it looks like there's a big, huge, purple eye, attacking the city, and he's just not doing anything.
And we were told, no, that's just a behind the scenes clip. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, we were like, oh no, in context it'll make sense. And then guys, it's basically like, oh no, there is literally something attacking the city, and he's just not doing anything. And that was the moment where I wanted to walk out of the theater, because I was like, you're Superman. I don't care that you're sad. I don't care that Guy Gardner is out there doing the work for you. If you think that for a second that by sitting in there, one person might die, you should be out there.
This is the same Superman that saved a squirrel, and he's ignoring the threat.
Yeah. I don't care what it is. That's Metropolis out there. It's one thing if Coast City is being attacked, Green Lantern's got it. Metropolis is your beat, buddy. I really didn't like that, but I liked how in all the fights he never stops trying to fight for what's right, even in the face of adversity. I just think this was an extreme overcorrection from the Snyderverse. This was somebody was make the polar opposite of this, and they did. They made the exact opposite of the Snyderverse, and to a extreme level. Whereas it had to be somewhere between the Snyderverse and this. Martin, Nolan.
And now it completely fails as a launch point for the series, because part of what led us to the MCU was
I'm not sure it fails.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to make the same point. I'm not sure it fails. It's got a good chance of making money and creating the traffic that WB needs.
So because people seem to be so split on this, because I've always kind of been of the mindset of, for some bizarre reason, they skipped the 4th of July when I thought they would have just cleaned up for the sake of cleaning up. I always thought that this movie was going to be a slow drip drab to success. Do you think word of mouth is going to help, or do you think it's going to slow it down? Like, and for the people who like it, is this going to be one of those movies where, kind of like Force Awakens, where 2 weeks later you realize, I don't think I like this so much?
I was actually kind of bored in parts of the movie.
Mm-hmm. It's 2 hours, but it's a long 2 hours. Like it is 2 hours that feels like a really long movie. I think that I had a visceral, horrific reaction when I saw it in the theaters, and then like over the next day, I settled into just disliking it and not being like enraged the way I was the night that I saw it. It's just that like I'm like, okay, this is the third time in my lifetime this has not been good. And in each time, it's because they just let a director do whatever the heck he wanted with no direction. Honestly, I think that if James Gunn had just been the studio head and he had just given this out to somebody who it's in their wheelhouse to do a singular hero story as earnest as Superman, I think then we might have gotten something good. But the fact that he took it for himself when by his own admission in the past, he just can't figure the character out.
I have a theory on that.
Go ahead.
I don't really think that he really wanted to do it, but I also think that Peter Safran was kind of old guard, and that old guard was very anti-Cavill. And yeah, we've since this movie has come out, we found that Michael Bay wanted a crack at it, and was in negotiations before Gunn took it. I think a Michael Bay Superman movie would have most certainly had the American way in it.
Yes,
we had Matthew Vaughn and the writer from Peaky Blinders taking a swipe at it. The one thing that they all had in common was Cavill. I kind of have a feeling that James Gunn may have been forced into this under the pretense of, no, you have to recast completely.
Mm-hmm. So, Maddie over here says actually exactly what I was just about to say. The one James Gunn should have taken for himself is like Teen Titans. I think he would make a really good Teen Titans movie. And
as much as I would love to see them do Teen Titans, there seems to be this, like, Crypto is more acceptable than Robin is. And then
I know Lauren has said it repeatedly that you can't do Robin in live action. I don't think I agree with it though.
I don't agree with that. I mean, Ernie Reyes Jr. does exist. It is possible.
Lauren,
I'm not saying it's completely impossible. I'm just saying that every time that I think about it, it doesn't feel right to me. When I think Robin works in the comics, and I think Robin works in the animated features. But when I think of Robin in live action, suddenly you're either doing an older Robin so that you don't get the uncomfortable thought of Bruce putting a young kid in danger, and it doesn't feel right, or you have him actually putting a young kid in danger, which also doesn't feel right. And
it's part of him being a whack job.
Yeah.
I think a good way to go about it is, and they did this in what was it? I think it was New Frontier. He goes to rescue a child from a fire.
Oh, from the monks.
Horrified of the Batman, and then he realizes that he has to soften he softens the costume a little bit, and then he uses Robin as a way to bridge, as a bridge to help children. I think you can get that. I do think that I think the perfect age for a movie Robin, if you're going to tell Dick Grayson's story, is he should probably be like 13, 14. Don't go 10, go like 13, 14.
Right.
And then you let Damian be the one who is younger because he is Batman's child. But I think you stick with
Lauren didn't like that.
Lauren hates Damien, which I understand.
Yes,
which I
we
understand.
do have to wrestle with the fact that Damien exists for some reason in the DC universe.
But he's not supposed to. It was an Elseworld story.
I totally agree. I get it, but they folded him in, and we have to wrestle with that.
I know. Well, it's and they forgot his origin story when they molded it in. I think you know what it is. It was their chance to have a James Bond moment have consequences, because if you really think about it, it's really hard to believe that James Bond does not have a child floating around up there with the amount of dabbling he's done.
Yeah. By the way, LK I think hit the nail on the head for what James Gunn should do. He says, no, let James Gunn do a Legion of Superheroes movie. That would actually be in his wheelhouse, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, James is so hit and miss for me. I love what he did with the Guardians, and I think there are places where his humor works, but he can't do Ernest. And when you do Superman, you have to do Ernest. He's got to be that guy. And I'm so frustrated because I really wanted to like this movie, and all of you who have seen it have said things that tell me I am absolutely not going to like this movie. When Hangry said this reminded him of The Force Awakens, I wilted inside.
Don't worry, Lauren. This will begin to make things right.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Lauren does
2
the
weeks in a
turn the
row I've done that.
He does the turn the camera off better than anyone. But yeah, guys. So the other problem is Guardians 1 and 2, and I'm pretty sure for Guardians 3 as well. James Gunn had shackles on because Marvel never really lets these guys get too ahead of themselves. And back in the Infinity Saga, that was a good thing. But now what we got in this was reportedly James Gunn with just full, unrestricted creative control.
That's always a danger, except with especially disciplined directors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, all right, guys. So, Superman, what did you all think? Send in a super chat, leave a comment in the comment section below, and let us know what you thought about it. But let's get to some of your super chats that have been coming in while we were having this epic discussion. So, Dead X-Man 616 for $2 says that Sam Jackson impression slaps. He's mocking me.
We know.
He's clearly mocking me. Ryan David for $5 says fired Joss Whedon, but 90% was Nathan Fillion. I don't know what that means. Fired Joss Whedon from
was Joss Whedon working on this movie at
No.
some point?
Not that I know of. Though, you know what? I think Joss actually might have done a really good Superman movie because his Justice League, Frankenstein's monster and facial CGI horrors that it was, at least understood the character of Superman.
Well, and that's I know we're not allowed to say things like this, but this is the problem with canceling people. Like, yes, Josh should have been absolutely reprimanded and dog walked, but not letting people do their job, there are certain lines, and I don't think he leapt over that line. We're not in the Juice or
Weinstein
or territory. He just had a love of interns and being a philanderer, and that's go to therapy, make an apology, and be in your best behavior. Mm-hmm. Because one of the things about his version of the Justice League, it's bizarre how much of it was left intact, but his Superman stuff was spot on. It was Cavill really shined, with someone who understood why Superman works, and sometimes you just gotta let talented people do their job.
And that awful CGI lip showed us all that Adam Baldwin back in the day would have made an excellent Superman.
It's true, though.
Let's see. Dead X Man 61605 says at the beginning they pointed out Superman was at 83% power. Then he was exposed to K poisoning for days. Yeah, no, I get it. He when he fights the Hammer of Bravia, he is not at 100% of his power. I don't know if it's days that he spends with the kryptonite, but he's pretty much back to full strength. I'm pretty sure after the Hammer of Bravia fight, he's back to full strength up until the point where he gets exposed to the kryptonite. So unless I'm mistaken, did X-Man 616 says, you mean the opening crawl, Marv? Yes, the opening crawl is exposition, obviously, but it didn't explain to us who Darth Vader was. Like, that's the level of exposition we're talking about. Like, there's an opening crawl in this movie. It's go ahead.
I would say it's so I laugh because it's gonna make your head explode. But when you listen to a lot of, especially James Gunn, they credit Schneider for redefining the superhero movie montage. So like one of the best things about Watchmen is it gets you up to speed very quickly on the history of this universe. Mm-hmm. So I understand what you go 300 years metahumans exist. Why not just do the super cool? Like, I get it. Not everybody's casted. You don't want to blah, 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 blah. But you do have actors who have been cast. Why not do a super cool montage of the history of this DC? Most of it can be, Lex Luthor's child. Like, you can montage Clark's childhood and Lex's childhood leading up to Superman's arrival in Metropolis, while also talking about, hey, there's this weird, creepy psycho ninja in Gotham. There's this kid who likes to run in Central City. Oliver Queen has been missing for 5 years. Like, you can do things like that get people excited about the universe, and then jump into the story. And now you have none of these issues, and everybody's excited for what comes next.
Kevin, that is brilliant. That is legitimately brilliant. Because I'm thinking about the Watchmen opening with the times they are a-changing, and that is a gorgeous, perfect sequence. And I know it's Snyder, but I like the Watchmen movie a lot. I think it is the closest thing we have ever gotten to a one-for-one, adaptation of something that's so beloved. And I think Watchmen is art. I really do. And that opening montage is perfect. That would have been if you showed like the outline of Jay Garrick, you showed the Fate helmet, things like that, like throughout the years, the ring choosing Guy Gardner. That would have been the bridge that connected this movie so perfectly. Martin, what do you think?
I think that's true. And also you could have pinned the end of that with young Lex's interactions with metahumans that show why he doesn't like them. He's excelling in school, but some metahuman kid on the football team is getting attention instead. That sort of thing.
Yeah, you know what? And James Gunn would have picked the perfect song for the montage.
I hated his musical choices in this movie.
Yeah, they were weird.
And not just that, but he chose to not actually use the Superman theme, the march. They created a theme that is obviously reminiscent of it, but you need the intertextuality of John Williams' score to fully enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. I was really hoping, because of how many times they teased it, that at the end, when he shows up out of the pocket dimension and goes to fight Ultraman, that was when I was hoping we were going to hear it in its full, triumphant, but it did not happen. And Lauren, I know that was a big point of contention for you, was that you did not like the version of the John Williams theme that was in the trailers.
I didn't, but I was open to having my mind changed. But I mean, John Williams' music, there was a period of time, I'm not as big a fan of John's later stuff. I feel like after he started working on the Harry Potter movies, when he stopped doing the Harry Potter scores, I felt like after that, he kind of got to where he was repeating himself a little bit and maybe not challenging himself as much as he did earlier in his career. But there is a string in the late 70s and early 80s where that man created an iconic theme for every single movie. And
I just watched Jaws the other night, and I realized that the Jaws theme was him too, and it's so simple and it's so perfect. You're absolutely right.
Home Alone is him.
Mm-hmm.
Back to the Future.
Somehow he had the ability to just reach in and pluck out of your minds from the future the earworm that was going to stick in your head for an entire summer each year. And even now, that Superman movie's from 78. We're talking about 47 years later. You hear that score and you sit up straighter and you start bopping along with the stupid thing, and it makes you feel patriotic. And it's just, the man had the ability to distill those kinds of emotions through music, and that's really amazing, incredible talent.
Lauren, I do get what you're saying with him not challenging himself most of the time, but have you heard his score from Catch Me If You Can?
I would still count that as before I feel like he started.
Okay.
I think, because that would have been, what, 2003, I think? Somewhere in there?
I think maybe something like that. But he
was. By the way, I was wrong. Alan Silvestri was Back to the Future.
Yeah, I felt like he started maybe not quite pushing himself as much, say, after 2010, thereabouts. And I'm going to pick on the sequel movies a little bit here again. There were really only two themes in the sequel movies that I liked, and the thing that I always buy first when there's a new Star Wars movie coming out is the soundtrack, Phantom Menace notwithstanding. And that's always the first thing that I want, because I want to hear, what did John do this time?
Yeah.
And I think the only two themes that I really liked out of the sequel trilogy were the Kylo Ren arrives on his ship at Jakku at the very beginning, and the Rise of the Resistance theme when they're getting ready to take off at the end of the movie. So other than that, it felt to me like he was just recycling his stuff, and I never felt that way before.
Two things.
I feel like he doesn't get enough credit for the prequel music, because he added such amazing things with Duel of the Fates, the Across the Stars love theme, and Battle of the Heroes are just some of the best.
And the entire reason for that is, in my opinion, is that the original trilogy was space opera. The prequels were opera. And that's when he brought in the choir. That's all of those that you cited all had a chorale element. And the only chorale element that existed in those movies before that was the Emperor's theme. So
yeah. Martin, what were you just going to say before I cut you off?
Well, I was going to say, maybe when you hit 85, you just want to play the greatest hits. That's a possibility.
Yes.
And going back to something we alluded to earlier, Superman Returns, I think John Ottman did a great job of adapting John Williams' score and even embellishing on some of the other pieces that he fit in things that made sense. I would have liked to see maybe him get a little more work in some of these movies that are continuations of things that Williams did.
You know what I would say about the Superman movie, though, is outside of those moments where they adapt the John Williams theme, I couldn't tell you any of the music from this. Like, it was just very not memorable. None of the score was really. And I will say, Man of Steel, look, I don't think that the Hans Zimmer score is as good as the John Williams by a country mile, but the John Williams Superman, the Hans Zimmer Superman theme is very good.
Were you telling me that you found a blend of the Hans Zimmer that goes into the John Williams?
Yes, and it works perfectly.
There's some.
I was always hoping for that to happen in that movie, like for there to finally be a moment where that Superman becomes the Superman we.
Oh
wanted.
No, that John Williams theme is way too hopeful for Zack Snyder. So all B Booty Bees and Bacon with Big B's for $2 says the Superman movie made me sleep in the theater. John Williams for $4.99 says, sorry I'm late. It's Nolan's fault. Just kidding. Just finished watching Superman. Well, sorry to hear that, John Williams. Rabbits and Reels for $1.99 says the John Wick dog over crypto any day of the week. Yeah, I wish we
Heck
had the
yeah.
John Wick dog for longer. Regina Sharp for 10 says, less important than the bowl cut, the fact that he plays Guy Gardner is even funnier, realizing how often he played Hal in the animated universe and that he was most people's first choice for live action Hal. Yeah, when Ryan Reynolds got cast, I remember everyone being like, why isn't this Nathan Fillion? And then he played him in Justice League War and a bunch of the other ones. So, yeah. Dead X Man 616 for $2. They did that in Batman 89. I don't know what he's referring to, but I will take his word for it. They did whatever it was in Batman 89. Chef Eddie for 5 says, I figured it out. James Gunn is Mr. Mixes-Pitalik. We have to trick him to say his name backwards to get to the real movie. It might be. It might be. John Williams says, I like the Watchmen movie. Alan Moore just sent a curse to you. There's no pleasing Alan Moore. You need to not ever try to please Alan Moore because it's impossible to do.
There's no pleasing that grumpy wizard.
Yes. All right. You know what? I was gonna go to another Superman story, but I don't want to. I want a little palate cleanser. Here's a funny one. It's a Harry Potter story. So Trish, come on back in. Nick Frost believes that he manifested his Harry Potter role by writing Hagrid 5,000 times.
Homework.
Wow.
He's a wizard, Harry.
You will write he is a wizard, Harry, 500 times.
Nick Frost, best known for his work in Shaun of the Dead. By the way, this is written by Raven Redgrave over on That Park Place. In Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, is set to portray Ruby as Hagrid. In an interview with The Observer, he claims to have manifested the role by writing Hagrid 5,000 times, essentially treating the casting project like a magical vision board. I just wrote Hagrid over and over again, Frost explained, treating the process less like a traditional audition and more like a personal ritual. It's unclear whether he seriously believed it would influence casting decisions or if it was simply a means to focus on his own determination. Either way, the role ended up his, though it is safe to say HBO probably had other factors in mind than how many times he wrote Hagrid on a piece of paper.
No, I want that to be the reason.
Yeah, seriously. They were like, oh, look how dedicated he is. He wrote it 5,000 times.
I'm not even mad. I'm impressed.
Yeah. Trish, what do you think about this guy as Hagrid?
I'm not a cinephile. I never saw Shaun of the Dead or anything, so I don't really. I'm not too familiar with him. He looks fine. It's just I'm hard to get. It's hard for me to get even remotely invested in this. So it's like,
Well, what would you I guess what would you look for in a Hagrid if you were cast? Like, what would you want to do differently than Robbie Coltrane?
Honestly, not much. I mean, to me, he fit Hagrid really, really well. I think he did look right. He had. I just feel like. I mean, I feel like they undercut Hagrid in the stories in the movies. Like they did not put things that I'm presuming they will muck up but put in the show. But
I wrote a previous That Park Place article on Nick Frost as Hagrid, and Trish, I gotta say he actually sort of sounds like he would agree with you on Hagrid, that Robbie did a great job and he doesn't want to he doesn't want to have to say that he's gonna play him differently. It's just, there are other elements that Hagrid that got eliminated for time.
Yes,
that he's hoping will be illuminated in this.
And that's the point I was literally just going to make was.
Oh, sorry.
I want to see. No, you made it first. I want to see Hagrid. I want to see the darker side of Hagrid. I want to see those moments where Hagrid actually starts throwing people around. I want to see the moments where the jinxes bounce off of him. I want to see. They never even confirmed that he's half giant in the movies.
I mean, so, I guess they figured by you figuring Grop was his half brother.
Yeah, but they never actually.
But I mean, I think they were like, instead of explaining it, considering they had limited time, they probably just figured, well, he's huge. This is clearly a giant. They'll put it together. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's one of the less egregious things that they have left out, in my opinion.
But like, I like when it comes to Hagrid, like I would have liked to have seen that scene where I forget which book it's in, but where he basically fights off like a half a dozen
I think I know what you're talking about when McGonagall like runs
McGonagall,
out.
when McGonagall
Yeah, I don't
gets like
remember the
super
book.
stupefied.
Well,
Yeah.
is it the one where he's going to be expelled from Hogwarts anyways by the
Oh
by
yes,
Umbridge?
yes, it's book 5.
So it's Order
book
of
5.
Phoenix.
Yeah,
yeah, it is. It is Order of the Phoenix because Umbridge is sending the guys after him. McGonagall tries to stop it, and she gets stupefied by like 12 people.
Yeah. That would have been interesting to put in.
Or
I get why they didn't. I don't know how
like
that's
when
the
they-
longest book, but the shortest movie. I don't know
I know.
how they got that.
When they light Hagrid's house on fire after killing Dumbledore, there's supposed to be a scene where he basically jumps out of the house and just starts messing people up, and he's chasing the Death Eaters at that point, and they're all like trying to like curse him, and the curses are bouncing off of him. Which, you know, just little things like that, like that Hagrid, like seeing that he could have been a force to be reckoned with. But guys, big thing with Harry Potter though, one of the actors thinks you're all racist.
I heard about this.
Just one of them?
Yeah. Jason Isaac, best known for playing Lucius Malfoy in the original film series, is now publicly attacking fans who have voiced criticism over the casting of Papa Isidro as Severus Snape, aka Trish.
Why are they pretending like it doesn't change the story? That's the part that bothers me. That's the main problem, and they're making it like that's not a thing that exists. That's my problem. It's not even how he looks, even though I do feel like you should try as best as you can to cast someone the way the character is described in the books. But that's not even the problem.
Well,
it's driving me crazy.
Mm-hmm. We see Isaac's here saying, I've seen some people who are being rude about him. What they are being is racist. And this, of course, Collider was all too happy to print that. Because
I haven't
Collider
seen one person be rude about him, and I've seen plenty of people who are unhappy about this, and I have not seen one person be rude about how he looks, his acting abilities, who he is as a person. None of it. So it's like trying to wrap it in that language, but that language hasn't happened.
Well, and we say it right here, like, you know, it's fans have raised serious concerns that reimagining Snape as a black man undermines key aspects of the story. In particular, his history as an outcast who's bullied by James Potter and his friends. It takes on an entirely different implication when race is now added.
And they have the story about race. It's just shrouded in mudbloods and half-bloods and purebloods. Like,
oh my.
like, that's the other thing that kills me is like they picked people who don't know the story, and now they're going, we have to put race in it. That's the whole point of the entire story. It's just not hitting you over the head with an anvil with actual direct language because it's a magical world. So it's like all of this, and it's wholly unnecessary. And like I'm frustrated because I feel like I'm shouting into the abyss about this. Like every once in a blue moon, I hear somebody else say it. But otherwise, I'm like, why are we not talking about this? To me, these are major problems and major warning signs that they did not know that. I don't even want to say didn't pick up on it. They don't know that. 7 books. They clearly haven't picked up one. They haven't watched one of 8 movies to realize that the story is exactly what they want to bang over everyone's head anyway.
Yeah. No, because it's too subtle for them, Trish. They're allergic to anything that's subtle.
It's bad writing if you have no nuance and no sense of subtlety, and you think the only way to get a message across is to beat everyone over the head with it. You're a bad writer then.
That's modern writers. That's 100% what they are. Go ahead, Kev.
I would say I just got I got distracted because I saw in the chat that Dexter Resurrection is coming out tonight. I thought that was a fever dream, and like we resurrected Dexter for the 3rd and a half time.
Didn't that happen already? Michelle Gellar in it?
Oh, I don't know. But, well, so they did a sequel series. It's been like 6 years. He dies at the end. So then they did a sequel series, and then he's back. So I'm confused. But hey, good for Michael C. Hall for making this just getting every drop of drop from the
Blood?
orange he can get. Yeah.
He will always be
the
Fisher to me.
blood orange. But I was gonna say, so are all the black people who are not happy with this racist too?
And
Well, they've
there's a
internalized
number.
white racism.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
true. That's
But there's a lot. I've seen it a lot. Not even that they're like angry. They're like, I don't need this. Like, you're doing this for me, and I don't even want you to do it. I've seen it a lot, so I know that's not just Kevin. You know.
Well, but now is Dexter like is it continuing the story
It's
after
continuing
he
the story.
dies?
So it
So
picks
is
up-
it that he didn't die?
It's that he didn't die. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm assuming someone found him in the woods.
They're going
Gotcha.
with the swoon theory. Wow.
I love Dexter. I mean, up to like but it's hard for me to rewatch now that the sequel series is out. Now that they're doing this, maybe I will revisit it, just because I really liked it, but I hated the ending, so I never went back to it. Because I've talked about this before. Like when something does not end well, I don't find that I'm able to really get into it again. But I mean, like, I think it is the greatest performance of John Lithgow's career is that season where he is the Trinity.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen or read the books?
No.
Yes.
I didn't know there were books.
Dokes gets it in a totally different way in the books, and it's disturbing.
And it's almost like reading the Dexter books. It's almost like having someone watch Forrest Gump the movie and then read Forrest Gump the book for the first time and realize that these are very different creatures.
Well, yeah, but Forrest Gump the book is legitimately bad. At least the Dexter books are well written.
Yeah.
Well, what about Jaws the book, where like every character is terrible?
Yeah, you do root for the shark, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. I just watched Jaws the other day, man. That is like, I watched it on the 4th of July. That is just a perfect movie. Like, it really is. Like, there's nothing in that movie that I would change. God help the world if they ever try to remake it.
Did I ever tell you guys the story about showing Jaws to my boys for the first time?
No.
All right, so my youngest wants really badly to be a director, and Steven Spielberg is his absolute favorite director.
Okay.
So good taste there. And he had always heard about Jaws. He really wanted to see it. So I finally agreed, okay, we can watch Jaws. And then my wife, like 5 minutes before I'm about to put it on, goes, "What are you doing about the skinny dipping?" I'm like, "Oh,
well,
yeah."
It's the first 5 minutes. You can very easily fast forward through that.
Right. And I was going to, but I put it on, and my boys couldn't stop asking me questions. They were both turned around to look at me, and I'm just like, "Oh, well, problem solved."
Yeah, they're not looking. They're not looking. Yeah, it's Oh, hold on, guys. Stop the show because Photon Empress has arrived.
Had it.
So I had to just stop the show for that.
Stop the press.
Good to see you, Photon Empress. But the when I watch Jaws, it's funny because Jaws is like two different movies. Like, you have the first movie is in Amity, and then once they're on the Orca, it's like a different movie. Has anyone else ever like thought about that?
Yeah. And Spielberg does that again in Jurassic Park. And again in Hook.
Yeah. Wait, Hook was Spielberg?
Sorry, what?
Hook was Spielberg? I didn't know that. Hook is one of my all-time favorite films of all time. Like,
Spielberg had for years wanted to make a musical, and he was actually going to make Hook into a musical, and he says he chickened out at the last minute and has always regretted it.
I'm trying to imagine Hook as a musical. I don't know if
well, that song that the daughter sings on the dock, that's the last remaining vestige of that movie as a musical.
Oh, yeah, okay. There are some horrifying things in that movie too, like the boo box.
Yes. Is that Glenn Close in the box? I think Glenn Close is the pirate that gets put in the box.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny too, because like Jaws, like, even though the shark, like, apparently, and I never knew this until this year because I looked into some trivia. Apparently, Hooper was supposed to die when he's in the shark cage, but they couldn't get the shark the shark to do the thing that it was supposed to do. So Hooper lives. Did you ever heard that?
I had, yeah, I'd heard that, but I don't know where. I heard it as like third hand. I never heard it from like cast members.
I feel like it would have been during one of those anniversaries when like like when your local WPIX would do your giant Jaws marathon for the entire week, and they would do little excerpts, in between movies or like during the extended commercial breaks.
I have actually never I've never watched any of the Jaws sequels.
You don't need to.
Yeah, my wife was asking
Michael
questions
Caine
about
griping about tourists is hilarious.
It's true.
All right. Hold on. We had another. So here's one, guys. So this is an exclusive from Pro. Ahsoka season 2's release window has been, Pro sources have confirmed the release window and the reason behind it. So an inside source revealed to That Park Place when we can expect Ahsoka season 2. To date, the launch remains unscheduled, but the show is tracking for late fall to winter 2026 as a release. Now, the reasoning for that apparently is they want it to come out after The Mandalorian, because originally, I guess they were thinking about putting it before, and Lucasfilm believes that if they put it out after The Mandalorian, or if they put it out before The Mandalorian, then it might actually hurt The Mandalorian.
Take away from it.
Yeah, because like basically, I think they want to starve out Star Wars a little bit until this movie comes out, so that people are itching for more Star Wars,
like a rash that just won't go away.
I don't think anybody is itching for more Star Wars anymore.
I don't think so either, but I think they think that people will be. Is there anything that they can do, you think, to make Ahsoka season 2 like be something that anyone wants to see? Are you, Lauren, are you even remotely curious about like the Mortos stuff?
Had they not botched Ahsoka season 1 so badly, I would have been. Because I do think there are some interesting things that you could do there. I don't trust Filoni to handle this well. The only thing that I think could potentially help is if they actually brought in Yora Sabaoth. But I think that's kind of how they're viewing the role of Baylan Skoll. And I don't see a way to really, I don't think they can make it work. Season 1 was just too bad.
I'm interested to see how the recast on Baylan goes, because Baylan was the one thing that I really liked in that show.
It's Rory McCann, who was the Hound in Game of Thrones.
Yep.
And he's good, but he's not Ray Stevenson. And so I don't know. I still think that if you were going to do something like a Yora Sabaoth, then maybe that could work. And I think that's maybe how you make the witches work. If Thrawn is using the witches to discover something like him. But again, I think that's the role that they've got Baylan playing. And so Baylan's quest is for the world between worlds. And what he said in season 1, he has a conversation with Shin Hati, where he's talking about how for millennia, there have been empires that rise, the Sith and the Jedi war, and everybody dies, and it goes on and on and on. And he's talking about how he wants to bring that cycle to an end, and that's what he wants the world between worlds for. He wants to change something in the past. And when you're doing that, you're going straight to actual time travel. And I don't think time travel works well in Star Wars. When they used it before in Rebels, it was kind of time travel, but not in the way that we're used to seeing it. And I think that's why you get a one-off with the world between worlds. Maybe a two-off if it's used to undo the sequels. But that's,
I was about to say, Lauren, like, how do you feel if they use time travel to undo the sequel trilogy?
That's not what they're going to do. If that's what they were going to do, then yes, I'll support Ahsoka season 2. But that's not what they're doing.
When we all saw that the world between worlds was like the background for Ahsoka. We all thought that Ahsoka was meant to undo the sequels, but apparently that was never the plan. So the theory that I had always heard, that I actually liked this theory, was that when Ezra in Rebels reached through, it's Kevin's theory, I know. When I didn't remember if it was your theory or if you were just the one that showed it to me. You want to go through it?
No, go ahead. Go.
All right, so the theory that Kevin had come up with was when Ezra reaches through and saves Ahsoka from Vader, that is the moment the sequels are wiped from existence. Because then you have, if Ahsoka dies, then Mando never gets Grogu to Luke because he never meets Ahsoka, which means the Empire eventually gets Grogu and uses him to clone Palpatine. And that's how the sequel trilogy happens. It's how the First Order rises. And by saving Ahsoka, we now insert Ahsoka into the Mandalorian, which prevents Palpatine from ever being revived.
Yeah, and it's a popular theory. And I think that you're not far off from right. And I had a personal theory about this myself that I've talked to you a little bit about. And I think that the one way that you can narratively shift this is saying that Rey does exist, but she's in the wrong time and the wrong person because of the events that happened in the past. Rey is supposed to be Jaina, and had the events not traveled along the way that they were, Ben would properly be Luke's son, Anakin, Jason, and Jaina would still exist, and Jaina would be Rey.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually fixes part of the prequels too, because you get the intense. Intense is maybe a little strong, but there's definitely a hint that Han knows more about Rey than he's letting on, and that's a plot thread that kind of dangled there that nothing got done with. And it's like, it's not even something that he necessarily knows. It's just that he feels something and knows there's something about that girl that he's attached to, and it's that in the correct timeline, she's his daughter.
Well, Lauren, have you ever seen the script for The Force Awakens? At the end, when it talks about seeing Luke, it says specifically that when he looks at Rey, he knows who she is.
Yeah. There is so much wrong with what was done, and they had so much material there to work with and so many more interesting things that they could have done. And instead, you had these two morons trying to one-up each other because they didn't like each other's scripts. It's like, this is, you took the most valuable entertainment property on the planet and turned it into a pissing contest, and did all of this with no plan. Every one of the incompetent people that were involved in this process should never be able to work in Hollywood again.
Someday Lauren's going to have a Nuremberg trial for people involved with the sequel trilogy.
Oh my goodness. All right. We'll get to the super chats after our next story, guys. Just giving some time if anybody else wants to weigh in on the conversation. But we have a Doctor Who story. So Kevin, buckle up.
All right.
Russell T. Davies says Doctor Who is meant to counter very straight and very masculine sci-fi franchises as doubt over the series' future continues. Russell T. Davies is doubling down on his mission to reshape the series into what he calls an alternative to traditional science fiction, specifically targeting what he sees as very straight, very masculine, very testosterone-y franchises. In a recent interview with UK drag performer Belinda Scandal for Your Manchester, Davies made it clear that his creative direction for Doctor Who under the Disney Plus co-production era is an intentional departure from the genre's historic norm. I find a lot of the other science fiction franchises are very straight, very masculine, very testosterone-y, and so that's our space. I do think that's where Doctor Who can fill a space. Kevin, has Doctor Who ever filled that space before?
I mean, Doctor Who is freaking masculine because the Doctor is a man.
Well, not just that, but from the origin, he was like the stiff upper lip, British old dude.
I always go back to if you've ever seen the pilot, they go back in time. They're with a bunch of cavemen, and one of the cavemen is weak and can't make the journey that they're making, and is going to get that entire group killed. And the doctor realizes that this group has to survive. And there is a moment where he contemplates smashing the weak one's head in with a rock so that the rest of the group lives. And changes his mind at the last second. This is a traditionally, it is classic masculinity. It's stoic. It's steadfast and resolute. And then when you jump to the Pertwee era, where he's essentially James Bond with an ascot, he's doing Aikido and flips and shooting lasers and driving cars, and it just breaks down from there. But on top of that, yes, it's never been like muscle bound, fire breathing. Let's go. It's the other side of the strategy and thinking and being clever and making the sacrifice and doing the right thing for the sake of doing the right thing. Like there's no reason to take this show and turn it into something it's not, especially when Stephen Moffat, there's a bevy of female characters to that, and we've seen them try this before. Everybody forgets that Sarah Jane had her shot at a spinoff, but Stephen Moffat gave you a bevy of female characters that you could have used to have told this story the way Russell wants to tell the story. And it's just, I don't understand, like, when something doesn't work, you triple down on it and then wonder why you can't get anybody to watch it, and then you get mad at everybody for not watching it. Even Torchwood, once you get like 5 episodes in the Torchwood is like the second gayest thing since Queer as Folk, but like also still action packed, and Captain Jack does some neat stuff. So it's like you can exist in the space without completely and totally transforming it into something else. You are the gatekeeper of this property. You're not supposed to be turning it into something it's not. You're supposed to be maintaining it so that when you hand it off to the next person, they can expand. Instead, you've chosen to tear it down.
But at the same time, what sci-fi franchises is he actually talking about? Because as we say in the article here, Star Wars and Star Trek are now very female, very like gay franchises.
And that's why they're dead.
I do wonder, when showrunners are saying these things, if maybe they're so busy writing their own things, they don't actually have time to keep up with the state of the industry.
Mm-hmm.
They're not actually watching Discovery and Modern Trek, and they're not watching Ahsoka and Modern Star Wars. They just, in their mind, they're fixed from when they were in their mid-20s and some head writer was telling them, no, you're an idiot, go rewrite it. And now they get to have theirs because they're the showrunner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I knew it was going to go super bad with Russell when he sat on the same stage as Kurtzman, and they giggled together about doing some kind of awful crossover, to the horror of everybody watching. I don't understand what the end game here is. You have killed this show, and it's not. Yes, it's not because the doctor was female. It's because Jodie was written very poorly. I think a lot of people
were okay with the idea of the female doctor. I was one of them, because you know what? We had just hit the era where the last 3 doctors had just been epic speech givers. And I was waiting with Jodie for that moment where she was going to come into her own and give that big hello Stonehenge style or the Time Lord triumphant speech.
Or monsters.
Yeah, I'm the man who stops the monsters. I was waiting for that I am the doctor moment, and it never came.
See, I don't like those moments.
You don't?
Not really. I would prefer his actions to carry it. And maybe what order? 12th Doctor kind of soured me on them, because his big speeches were all like post-war on terror European, everybody should get along and it's ridiculous that we fight at all nonsense speeches.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes people just have to have their heads knocked in. That's just the way of life.
I just loved how epic the Doctor always was. How, Matt Smith especially. I mean, his speeches were just unbelievable. Whether it was the Rings of Akaten or whether it was the Stonehenge speech. I mean, or his first episode where he called the aliens back. They had left. He had beaten them, and he called them back to yell at them. I thought that was just absolute masterpiece. But yeah, Jodie never had that, and then of course Gatwa never had it. And when Tennant came back, he was not epic like that anymore either. So
he was broken down and there to be humiliated.
Yeah.
But again, it's just sad. And I am, entertainment is such an important thing. I think for younger people, it's like, yes, I want to go too deep into the woods here, but yes, religion is generally your first touch for morals and ethics. But entertainment, when the past, especially when you look at 80s stuff, early 90s stuff, as a kid, that was your first real display of why good is good, why evil is evil, and why good has to triumph. You got to see it played out, and kids need heroes, and in this day and age, especially young men, young boys need heroes. They need to have the ability to feel good about being a man, because we haven't afforded them that privilege in the better part of 15 years. And you have to want to inspire people to want to go do the hard things to make sure that the good things can prevail. And this stuff is just it drives me insane.
Let me ask a follow-up question here to you guys, because I know this. I think this will be a little bit more up everyone's alley. What do you guys think of the rumor that when Strange New Worlds is over, that they might do a reboot series of the original series of Star Trek?
They better not.
I don't like the idea.
I don't really like the idea either. I mean, I like the original characters. I liked the first JJ movie as an Elseworlds kind of tale as it was, but I just, as long as Kurtzman is still there, I don't trust anyone to touch Star Trek anything.
Star Trek needs to go away for a little bit. But first of all, Star Trek is about moving forward. It's why Enterprise struggled, and unfortunately took it a little too long to get to find its feet. But when you're not moving forward with Star Trek, you are kind of stuck. So doing a reboot, it's going to be unless you were going to do like little special one-off things, like, because I've always had the opinion that not casting Michael Weatherly as a young Kirk in the movie era jumpsuit for like a special story was an absolute waste, because he just has a very striking resemblance to William Shatner. But you can't reboot it. It's destined to fail. They might as well just call this throw this in the garbage truck. Go ahead, Nolan.
Go ahead, Nolan.
I think that's part of the issue, to your point, Kevin, with Star Trek, is I feel like kids these days, or even older audiences, associate Star Trek with being old, which is completely the opposite of what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be futuristic. Literally, one of our big series of the past was about Picard as an old man. It ain't working anymore.
No. Well, and it's unfortunate. It's because the writers that you have doing these shows, they lack the world experience. They lack the desire to consult anybody with the experience. They lack the nuance. It's the curse of the myopic worldview lecturing. And Star Trek never lectured. It allowed you to make your own decisions. Sometimes it even decided to play devil's advocate. It's with what we have now, until creatives get their brains back in order and decide to stop chasing this lunacy, or we get people who have actually experienced the real world a little bit. Star Trek needs to be untouched. It in this environment it just can't thrive.
I wonder if maybe science fiction television is going to struggle for a long time, because it used to be that the science fiction magazines were the farm club for writers who were going to get into science fiction TV. And you don't have that short story editorial process anymore. You just have people jumping right into writers' rooms, and what they really want to write is Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I look at Measure of a Man. That was written by an attorney. So it's like and these shows don't cast science advisors. They don't cast military advisors. It is just, this is what I think it is, and this is what we're going to tell you that we're going to do. So there's no authenticity to any of it.
Well, what's funny is the Buffy the Vampire Slayer reboot is probably going to suck, because it's somebody that's going to go in there and try to write Buffy the Vampire Slayer instead of just going in there and writing Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But sorry, Nolan, you were saying.
Oh, no, I just think it's sad that, I feel like in this day and age, you could find a nerd off of 4chan or Reddit that's going to come up with a more creative idea for Star Trek than these people, that went to college, and they're like, hey, I have to follow all the movie formulas and such, where Star Trek is one of the most creative shows that was ever made. And we've said this all the time, almost to a tired degree, of like, oh, Hollywood doesn't have a creative bone in their body. Well, you take a show that was so creative that it literally pushed science intervention in the future, and yet now they can't even do that, because the reality is these people, they don't live a lifestyle like that, and it shows in their products.
A lot of those science fiction. Sorry, I'm stepping on you.
Trish, were you just about to comment on the Buffy thing that I said? Because I thought I heard you start to talk.
No, I wasn't.
Oh, okay. Sorry, go ahead, Martin.
Well, Nolan was saying you have all these college kids writing. Back in old Trek era, they didn't go to college. A lot of those guys went to Korea.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of it is what Martin was saying earlier, is that these guys came out of hard sci-fi. They wrote things that were think pieces. And the modern generation, I'm going to sound like an old fogey here, they just want to do the surface fluff stuff. It's all action, ADHD, quipping garbage. It's not, what are the moral implications of using the Guardian of Forever? And those kind of stories, they would work on an anthology show like The Twilight Zone. They don't have to be Star Trek. And that's the difference between the writers of that era and the writers that we have now, is that these guys were actually thinking about things and putting something in front of you and showing something that is an impossible situation, and then asking the audience, how do you feel about this? What would you do in this situation? What would you think? We don't get that anymore.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
I think you're right as well. And you know what? That's where I'm going to leave it. Let's get to the super chats, and then we have got to get going for this week. So Regina Sharp for $20 says, this nut wrote Hagrid 5,000 times and thinks he'll just get the role. Oh, God, hire him. Who knows what this nut will do if we don't let him play dress up? The casting director and producers probably. Yeah, that sounds about right.
It worked.
XJ Cherokee Bear for $6 is RIP to James Carter Cathcart, who was the voice of Gary Oak from Pokemon.
Yeah,
he was also James as well. And Professor,
we lost
James
Jesse
and
James.
Oh, yeah, because we lost Jesse / Misty / Jigglypuff. What, last year or earlier this year? That was last year.
Earlier this year, right?
I don't know. It feels like it was just yesterday, but I don't remember. But then Ryan Damon for $10 is DS9 rewatch Until We Die. Well, I am still working my way through Next Generation, and I am actually really enjoying myself now. I'm in season 2.
Nice.
And I'm having fun with it now. I'm about to get to the first appearance of the Borg, so I'm very excited for that. But in honor of our fallen Pokemon compatriot. It's just the Pokemon clip that I have. Oh my goodness. And Regina Sharp coming in with the $50 right at the end. The slow drain of people who have or had to deal with the real world and real nastiness has been both painful and fascinating to watch. In comics, especially because we went from Depression World War II vets to university art degrees and gender studies poets. That is so true. Good Lord. Thank you very much, Regina Sharp, for all of your generous support. All right, guys, that does it for tonight. I have got to run because I have to record with Pro because we are doing a spoiler video for Superman. So I believe it's going to be me, him, a couple of other people who have seen it. So looking forward to that. But Lauren Connor, tell the fine folks at home where they can find more about you and what you are up to.
Find me here on Thursdays and on Pro's show right now on Mondays and Wednesdays. I'm with the Genre Guys. We usually record on Saturdays. I'm not sure exactly when they get released. You can find me on Twitter at Lauren Connor or at YouTube at Lauren Connor 9030.
Awesome. And Nolan Thunder, where can folks find more about you and what you're up to?
Well, you can see me here in just 2 days. I'll be on That Gameplays, hosting a stream covering all the video game news, and we'll probably go a bit more into the sad Pokemon news and celebrate a bit of James Carter while we're at it too. But we should have some more happier headlines of the news, and come around. It's a good time if you want to hang out and enjoy all the great things about gaming.
And Martin Stone, tell folks where they can find out more about you.
Well, you can find me on T3PO. We're going to release a episode very soon. It's the first Trish episode. That is... It's all about this little song that couldn't and a music video that ruined a multi-selling platinum artist's career.
Oh,
fantastic.
It's travesty.
Yeah, it is. So watch out for that one. Now, unfortunately, as with all Martin suggested episodes, there were some production problems with this one. And there is a worry that it may not be monetizable.
This is why you never trust the High School Musical director.
Oh my goodness. Trish, anything you got to plug this week?
I'm just still laughing at that because I'm like, yeah, there was a lot of music used in that one. I'll be in Beverly Hills 90210 not eating a Butterfinger, Lauren.
Oh,
that's where I'll be.
Fighting words.
He and I have had an ongoing little thing of a joke about it now.
The fact that you don't like Butterfinger, it's weird, right, Lauren?
It's very strange. I don't.
Lauren accepts me as I am, though.
I don't know.
He did until this.
That's a little odd.
Maybe
it's a bridge too far.
Eating sherbet with a Butterfinger instead of a spoon.
Oh, that's a good one. Kevin Apollo, anything you want to promote? You got your channel coming out soon. We don't know when, but it's coming soon.
Soon. I'm enjoying the fact that the chat has gone totally Trek right now. I guess we get the House of Apollo coming. We bring glory to your house. Where me and my friends, everybody here, will have some fun talking about entertainment, pop culture, occasionally some social political analysis. So we'll hit all the favorites: Marvel, DC, Star Trek, Doctor Who, whatever, action, horror, sci-fi, classic TV. And maybe even every once in a blue moon, some leaks, some rumors, and the occasional interview. And I'll probably answer even an HR question or two because those are always fun. But no matter what, we'll keep it light, we'll keep it happy, we'll keep it fun. So yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for joining us this and every week. We'll see you guys next week here at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will also see you guys on the Wrestling Channel this weekend because it's going to be a long weekend. We got AEW All In. We got Saturday night's main event. We've got WWE Evolution, the all-women's pay-per-view. So we will see you guys then. And from all of us here at the Tuning 10 channels, I'm Marvin the Movie Monster. Now get out of here!
Now, Perry the Platypus, feel the wrath of my thank you-inator! Thank you, you piece of trash.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you!
Oh, I suppose you want me to say thank you. Well, you know what? Saying thank you is like jobbing. Thank you!
I got a little message. Thank you. Ooh, yeah.
Oh, thank you! Oh, thank you! Thank you! Thank you! Thank you! Thank you!
Thanks. For what?
Hi-ho from all of us here at Tooney Town. Thank you.
And viewers like you. Thank you.